Trouble in Bohemia is a family-friendly version of the classic Sherlock Holmes story, A Scandal in Bohemia, featuring another exciting case for Sherlock Holmes and his friend John Watson as they face a clever and extraordinary lady. This version is designed for people of all ages, making it easy for everyone to understand and enjoy. To make the story more family-friendly, some character names have been shortened and certain parts of the storyline have been adjusted to be less scary and intense. We hope you enjoy it. Since getting married to Mary, Dr. Watson hasn't seen much of his old friend, Sherlock Holmes. Watson now lives with his wife in a new home, while Holmes lives alone in the flat they used to share. Watson keeps up with Holmes by reading about his detective work in the newspapers. One evening, after visiting a patient, Watson decides to surprise Holmes with a visit. When he reaches their old flat, he notices the lights are on and knows Holmes must be home. Watson rings the doorbell. Holmes answers the door with a big smile. "Watson, how good to see you," he says. Watson is happy too, and Holmes invites him in. They sit together on the couch, and Holmes offers Watson a drink. They chat about old times, but then Holmes looks at the clock. "It's almost time," Holmes says, showing Watson a letter. The letter says that a man will arrive at 7:45 to discuss an important case. The man will be wearing a mask. Holmes and Watson start to wonder who this mysterious man could be. Holmes examines the letter carefully. This paper was made in a place called Bohemia, and from the words used, I think the person who wrote it is German, Holmes explains. Watson is amazed, as always, by Holmes's clever detective work. Now, they wait for the man in the mask to arrive. At exactly 7:45 p.m., a fancy horse-drawn carriage arrives at Holmes's home. Holmes and Watson quickly figure out that the person must be rich because of how nice the carriage looks. A man steps out, dressed in fancy clothes and wearing a mask. As he enters the flat, he speaks in a deep voice with a German accent. "I thought we were meeting alone." Holmes replies, "This is my good friend and partner, Dr. John Watson." The man nods and says he is a nobleman from a country called Bohemia. He asks if Holmes has read his letter. Holmes smiles. "Yes, Your Majesty," he says. Holmes has already figured out that the man is actually the king of Bohemia. The man pulls off his mask, surprised, and asks, "How did you know?" Holmes smiles. "This is what I do. And that's why you came to me." The king smiles too, impressed by Holmes' skill. Then, the king tells his story. 5 years ago, he was in love with a famous singer named Irene Adler. He gave her a picture of them together, with a message on the back of the photo that said, "Our love lasts forever," and even stamped it with his royal seal. But now, the king is about to marry a princess, and Irene Adler has threatened to show that picture to the world. If she does, everyone will know the king broke his promise, and it could cause big trouble for him and his country. The king sighs. "I've tried to get the picture back. I even sent my agents to buy it or take it, but they failed. Now, you are my last hope. I'll handle this. Please stay in London while I investigate." "Your Majesty," Holmes says. The king agrees and leaves. After the king is gone, Holmes turns to Watson. "Shall we work on this case together?" Watson smiles and says, "Yes. It's an important case, and it doesn't seem too dangerous, so I'm sure Mary won't worry." Over the next few days, Holmes and Watson study Irene Adler's daily routine. They quickly develop a great admiration for her. Both Holmes and Watson are impressed by how well-organized and thoughtful she is in everything she does. One evening, Holmes says to Watson, "Meet me at the flat at 8 a.m. tomorrow. Let's get ready for action." The next morning, Watson arrives, but instead of Holmes, an old man opens the door. "Hello, young man. What's your name?" the old man asks, confused. Watson replies, "I'm John Watson." "Are you one of Holmes' clients? Is he here?" The old man turns around and starts laughing. When he turns back to face Watson again, he speaks in a familiar voice. "It's me, Watson," the old man says. Then Watson realizes it's not an old man at all, it's Holmes in disguise. Watson is amazed by Holmes's acting and makeup skills. "This is how you're going to do it, huh?" Watson smiles and asks. Holmes nods and heads out to Irene Adler's neighborhood, still dressed as the old man. He chats with shopkeepers and neighbors, pretending to be a visitor from another town. Everyone loves how funny and friendly this old man is, so they happily answer his questions about the area and about Irene Adler. Holmes learns that a man named Norman visits Irene quite often. A little while later, Holmes sees Norman arriving at Irene Adler's house. Holmes watches as Irene and Norman hop into a cab, and being curious, he secretly follows them to a nearby church. There, Holmes witnesses their wedding, confirming that Irene Adler is now married. Later, back at the flat, Holmes tells Watson everything. "Irene got married today," he exclaims. "That means she probably doesn't want her new husband to find the picture." Holmes is sure that the picture is hidden somewhere in Irene's house. Now, he just needs to figure out a way to make her show him where it is. The two friends sit down and start planning their next move.